What is going on, Divi Nation? I am Nick Saponaro. This is another Live at 5 monthly Divi update. If you're new to the Divi project, quick intro on what we are. The philosophy is simple. Make crypto easy. From 2017 up until today and moving forward into the future, we have one goal in mind, and that is to make crypto accessible and usable for everyone, everywhere. We launched our Masternode one-click cloud installer, which is still regarded as the easiest way to earn cryptocurrency in 2018, and it is still amazing today, just like this update will be. Today's theme, and we always have a theme during the Live at 5, is dipping into DeFi. We're getting deep into DeFi today. We're going to be talking about the StakeHound partnership. We're going to be talking with one of StakeHound's top level executives, Albert Castellana. We are going to be talking about a lot more than that as well. We have a lot of stuff to go through today, so let's jump right in to the numbers. Before we pull up the official numbers for the week, for the month, for today, they change all the time, I want to make some quick reminders for the viewers out there watching this live. We will have an AMA section at the end. Please hold off on all your questions until we get to that section. If you ask too early, there's a chance that it will get buried and we won't get to see it. Also, after today's show, we have a very special event. Our very own Ryan Berg is hosting a Clubhouse after party. If you guys don't have Clubhouse yet, sorry, it's invite only. But for those of you that do have Clubhouse, come hang out with us. We're going to be talking crypto. We're going to be talking Divi. We're going to be talking about pretty much whatever people talk about on Friday nights. And I really hope to see you all there. Now, one last little housekeeping issue before we move forward. There were some scammers lurking around this past week in the ecosystem, on Twitter, on Discord, on Telegram. If somebody reaches out to you directly and says that there is an update to one of our pieces of software, they are lying and you will get scammed and lose money. We do not issue updates via DM ever for any reason. I cannot stress this enough. I want everybody to stay safe and secure, because if you lose your money on cryptocurrency projects on the blockchain, you cannot get it back. Okay, I think we can talk numbers now. First things first, wallet signups have continued to skyrocket with 18,886 individual usernames, or I guess email addresses, signed up, ready to get into that wallet. As you guys know, we have hundreds of people already beta testing the wallet, and we plan to add many, many more. The next thing we look at, as far as the numbers are concerned, is the all-time high masternodes. We cracked another amazing metric this past month. Now our current all-time high masternodes is 1,724, and we continue to add all sorts of tiers from copper all the way down to diamond. And it is actually quite incredible to see so much money being allocated to this wonderful software. Finally, we take a look at the ecosystem. Again, you can see that the ecosystem has grown quite a bit, but we continue to grow in one of my favorite metrics, which is the percent of the coins that are allocated to masternodes, which is over 53%. Why is that important? For those of you that don't know, blockchain networks, especially proof of stake networks like the one Divi is, are more secure the more coins are allocated to nodes in that ecosystem. In our case, we have staking nodes and we have masternodes. With 53% of the coins in masternodes, we not only have an incredibly decentralized network, we have an incredibly secure network. Because in order to attack or change our blockchain, you would need 51% of all of those coins. That's impossible, because you would have to convince all of those individuals who are running all of those 1,724 masternodes to join you. And I guarantee you that would not happen. So it's a beautiful thing. It's not something that you see very often, especially in projects of our size. So those are the numbers. let's move on to the crypto markets update. All right, hang on, let me make this bigger because I can't see anything because I'm an old man. Bitcoin, as we saw over the past week, has seen a slight downturn. But I actually see this more as sideways action. Yes, it's off of its $60,000 high, but this is actually what we want to see. We're seeing low volume price decreases, which is actually a good thing in a bull run of this nature. In my opinion, the bull run has not ended. I am not a financial advisor, but based on previous bull runs that we've seen, based on financial markets and just general knowledge of fundamental and technical basis of understanding, I would say we have a long way to go before it's over. So there's a lot of FUD out there. There's a lot of opinions out there. But the bottom line is you have to do what makes sense for your portfolio. Make sure you are allocating your funds in a way that you can tolerate as far as risk is concerned. So moving forward into the crypto market update, I wanted to talk about something that happened last weekend. And this was the FATF guidelines. So the FATF is the Financial Action Task Force. It's basically a global task force that has been working for several years now to create guidance for the jurisdictions around the world to regulate cryptocurrency. It's kind of contentious. I guess there's a couple of different camps. You know, there's those that are extremely pro-regulation. There are, of course, those that are completely anti-regulation. And then there's people more like myself that are somewhere in the middle, in between. I believe that regulation can be a good thing for all sorts of markets. However, overreaching regulation can cause detrimental effects. As we've seen with things like the stock market even, which is incredibly overregulated, you start to see all these different loopholes and different schemes popping up. Just because you put rules on something doesn't mean that people won't find new ways of breaking them. And then you have to make new rules, and then it just becomes this huge sandwich of terrible rules built by people who don't actually understand what they're regulating. And that is a very, very dangerous thing when it comes to the FATF. Some of the new regulations that they are recommending. Now, I need to be very clear here. The FATF does not make laws. It is purely guidance. Nothing in their documentation will necessarily be a law in the country in which you reside. However, a lot of these things do end up becoming legislation because this is literally how the legislators are guided toward their writing of their legislation. So a couple of the big things that changed. First of all, stablecoins seem to be very, very in focus right now with the FATF. They're basically calling them so-called stablecoins. And without getting too deep into the nitty-gritty of exactly what the guidance says, they're basically setting the stage to obviate stablecoins and create CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies. Now, this is something that we all know is going to happen regardless. We already know that China is well underway on their CBDC. Some countries in Europe, some of the smaller countries are pretty close, some even doing multiple pilots in parallel to get their central bank digital currencies. And at one time, during the last Trump administration, there was talk of even doing a digital payout of our stimulus checks. This started the conversation about a US CBDC, which would be quite interesting and potentially quite scary. Why is that scary? Why is a completely regulated, tracked money supply that only exists on the internet scary? Well, I'll let you make your own determinations there, but I can tell you that I am not a huge fan of CBDC only future. I hope that cryptocurrencies will remain completely legal and, again, regulated in a way that is responsible. Some of the other weird and interesting things that changed in this FATF guidance include things around wallets. Now, this affects us, right? Because there are something called VASPs, which are virtual assets service providers. And these are basically wallets, exchanges, pretty much any service that is provided for a virtual asset. But in the past, it has pretty much been defined by the custodial nature of these services. So as you guys know, when you put your money into like an exchange or a wallet like crypto.com or something like that, you are giving your coins and your keys to that service, and they're custodializing it. They're holding those and hopefully safe ways, insured ways, and you can then use that money in whichever way that service provider offers. In the past, VASPs were not non-custodial wallets. Basically, non-custodial wallets were outside of the definition. Now, based on this current guidance, it looks like they may actually be part of this definition. This affects us because that means that potentially in the future, even non-custodial cryptocurrency services will require KYC and AML. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering. And they're basically providing this guidance under the assumption that cryptocurrency is used for money laundering and terrorism funding. All money is used for that stuff. In fact, cryptocurrency is probably the least of the worry for that kind of behavior, but that's a completely different topic. Okay, the last weird thing that I thought needed to be addressed in this FATF guidance was around smart contracts and smart contract frameworks and dApps, which are decentralized applications. This affects NFTs, believe it or not. The way that it's written, and you can look on my Twitter if you want to see the exact excerpt from the guidance, the way that it's written makes it look like that pretty much any platform that offers the purchase and sale of tokens that could be that could basically gain in value would be under the definition of either a VASP or a VA and would require the same guidelines, which means you could potentially have to set up KYC and AML just to buy an NFT, which to me is absolutely absurd. Because if they really think that people are using NFTs to launder money, they should look at some of the recent auction results in the traditional art world, which are absolutely insane. A Banksy painting just went for like $42 million. Now, I'm not saying that the person that bought that Banksy for 42 mil is money laundering, but they also didn't do KYC AML on that guy, did they? Next time you go into a gallery, see if they do KYC and AML on you. They should be treating these things as artwork, which is what they are. They should be treating cryptocurrency peer-to-peer transacting as cash-based transactions, which they basically are, but now they're beginning to overreach. Now, this is not a FUD conversation. I'm telling you this because this is facts. And a lot of people don't want to talk about these things, but we need to talk about them because, again, these are not laws yet. You can contribute to this conversation. You can contact your senators and your congressmen. You can get involved with the FATF guidance. It's actually open source and you can contribute your thoughts. We need to get into the legislative arena. We need to get people who have that level of power on our side and ensure that they understand how these things work functionally on the ground, not from a high level, not from an abstract level, but really how they work from our level, from the ground floor. So I just wanted to touch on that because I did tweet about it a couple of days ago over the weekend, and I had a lot of people reach out and say, can you explain this a little bit better? And so hopefully that does explain it. We can talk about it more on Clubhouse later, but I just wanted to touch on that very quickly. And I hope that it was helpful. So that's everything for the crypto markets. Let's move on to projects and ventures. Okay, well, as you guys all know, we have been working on the Divi mobile wallet. I think some of you guys might know that, but if you don't, we are. Just one second, I'm very thirsty. So yeah, I mean, it's going pretty good. No, it's going really, really well. It's coming along in an incredible way. We have almost 400 people beta testing it. The APIs look really solid. The functionality looks really solid. And we actually just got our first QA, which is quality assurance audit, back from Mindful QA. And I have to pull something up for you guys because their feedback was amazing. And again, I can't see, so I just got to pull this bigger. Okay, so this is from them. This is an email that they sent along with their full report. Overall, the app design itself is amazing. We virtually never see apps that have so few device-specific issues. The UI looked sleek across all 20-plus devices tested. In general, the performance was pretty consistent across devices, OS versions as well. Although we noted some issues in the sheet, test leads agreed that the concept and design really do feel revolutionary for the crypto space. I know I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. From reviewing it personally, I'm also going to instruct our accounting to include the option to pay invoices in Divi for all clients going forward. I believe the long-term viability of what a game changer Divi and the wallet app are going to be, and I'm excited for this launch. Wow. That really, when I read it, literally made my heart drop and brought tears to my eyes, because this is a completely unbiased third-party individual who is literally hired by us just to tell us what's wrong with the app. They do a lot of apps. You can look them up. They've done hundreds and hundreds of apps, QA, and they're professionals at this. It's called Mindful QA if you want to look into them. This is a huge, huge, huge thing for us. Because of our extreme focus on detail, user experience, and all that comes with that, I'm really, really proud of our team. I think that they've absolutely knocked the ball completely out of the park with this application. I think the extra time that we've taken to create the experience that you all deserve will really shine, and I am excited as can be. Now, the next step is the security audit, which started yesterday, which is awesome because they'll be done within, they estimate about a week. So we'll give them that week. Usually it's, a week to 10 days, whatever. Assuming there's basically nothing wrong from a security perspective, we can pretty much move forward with the launch. The beta testers will get staking vaults next week. We've already been testing them internally for quite some time, so I don't necessarily see any glaring issues with that. But the feature set that we want to launch with is ready to go. We have, again, as long as security looks good, we can begin to roll out the launch. I'm not going to give exact dates or timelines. I just know that the security audit will be done next week at some point. And yeah, I mean, the app is ready. The app's freaking ready. Jesus. I mean, it's been quite the long haul. We have some really, really incredible M-Mochi numbers, which are our mobile Mochi numbers. We have 406 masternodes up and running. They've been running for weeks now, very stable. This is a completely new system. This is a completely different system from the one that you guys are used to on the desktop wallet. So just absolutely amazing job to the team. And yeah, it's just amazing. I don't even have words for it, because if you guys could understand like how far it's come and how hard it's been to get here, and how we started with so few resources, and to get to the point where now we have a full team, we have a full executive team, a full dev team, product managers, and the whole kit and caboodle, and a complete marketing strategy to roll this thing out, and people telling us that it's a game-changing app. All we have to do now is get it out there and tell the rest of the world. And I just see great things as a result of this piece of software. And this isn't even it. This is just the start. There's so much more coming into the app over the course of the year that it's really just the tip of the iceberg. So thank you guys all for supporting us through this very, very long, I know, and difficult, arduous development timeline. But I think you're seeing, and you will see, that it is 100% worth the wait. So another thing that we had go on this month was the GIF competition, and it turned out pretty awesome. You guys did an amazing job with some of the GIFs that came out of it, and I think we have a little video of the top 10 winners. Let's take a look at that. All right, rewards while you sleep. This one looks like an ad. Like, it looks like really good. Like somebody from our marketing department made that, but it was just a community member. The Rocky one. This one's great. And all the extra effects. Like, oh, be your own bank. Get the Minecraft one. No. You guys got so creative, and these video games are so old. Of course, the 3Ds. The Obama one's one of my favorites. And he drops the mic. All right, Divi to the moon. Those are so enjoyable. Really, really funny. So congrats to all the winners. We'll be reaching out over the course of the next week so that you can get your prizes. And we do have another contest that I'll announce a little later. But first, I want to get into our next section. And like I said in the beginning, the theme of this show is really diving into DeFi. Before we bring on this amazing guest, I want to just go over a few things about DeFi, some housekeeping stuff, as always. DeFi is very new. It's very difficult, and you should always invest at your own risk. I think we're going to bring on Albert. I hope I'm pronouncing it Castellana in a second here. So let's jump in. Albert, nice to see you.
Hi, Nick. Hi, how's it going?
It's going well. First of all, I'm very, very happy to have you here with us. And I'm even more excited because, and I don't think you knew we knew this, but you've decided to celebrate your birthday with us, haven't you?
That's correct. Yeah, we just wrapped up the party now. Yeah, it's 1:30 over here. So
it's 1:30 in the morning. So you're in Spain, right?
Yeah,
amazing.
Exactly. That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So for all of you out there that don't know, Albert is the CEO of StakeHound. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Co-founder and CEO.
Amazing. Co-founder and CEO. So obviously, there's a lot of questions around DeFi and around the StakeHound partnership. So I think we should just take it from the very, very top and talk about what exactly is DeFi. Can you give us a good definition of DeFi, your best definition?
Yeah, for sure. So, as you have seen over the last few years, right? We have seen how crypto in general has been trying to disintermediate different things, right? You can be disintermediating, for example, payments, right? Instead of having to go through SEPA, you can now be paying with Divi, for example, right? Now, if you kind of move even farther than that, you should be able to, for example, borrow against your assets, right? Why can't you, for example, get your Divi and borrow against them? Right? Why can't you even get your master node and be able to borrow against that asset? Right? There's been like all these different kind of set of primitives, financial primitives, what they call money Legos, that are essentially disintermediating different parts of the financial ecosystem and essentially building clones of those on a blockchain, or even new type of products that we have never been able to see in the financial market, in the traditional financial markets, that now they are possible thanks to the blockchain technology, right? So that's DeFi, essentially trying to bring all this old world into the new world, and even like building it even farther than that. So I'm happy to explore it in depth. It's just like on a high level.
Yeah, definitely. And we definitely will dive much, much deeper. I feel like the way that I always explain to people is like, your bank, right? You go to your bank, Alice goes to the bank, puts $10 in, $1,000, let's make it, and they charge her for that. Anytime she wants to take money out or use it in any way, and they charge her a monthly fee. And then Bob comes in and he wants to borrow $1,000 to put a down payment on his house. They give Bob Alice's money, but Alice gets nothing for that. And that's kind of the problem that DeFi solves, right? It takes the bank out of the middle of Alice and Bob, allows Alice to use her funds and her assets in the way that she wants and get that benefit from it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you want to kind of dive a little bit deeper, all of DeFi is kind of based in a single kind of idea, which is liquidity pools, right? Essentially, if you have a smart contract, which is essentially like a box, and different people can putting money in this same box, and this box has a specific functionality, right? So, for example, maybe this box can be used to borrow against it, right? That would be like a bank, right? Or maybe this box can be used to trade against it, or maybe this box can be used to, create a synthetic product, for example, right? So all of this is essentially DeFi is kind of like the different money Legos are essentially built on people pulling money together, liquidity pools, and then setting them up to be able to do specific features that until now were just not possible, right? Like one of like my favorite, to be honest, is what's called an automated market maker, right? What if you can actually put your assets to work, allowing other people to come and essentially trade against you, right? So instead of going to Binance and having, what's called a market maker, who's someone like a company probably, or like a set of bots, for example, that's always trying to give you a market on the other side so that you can trade against it. What if you can actually use your own assets and put, you have $100, for example? Why can't you let other people trade against your $100 and earn trading fees on that process, right? So that's an automated market maker. That was, for example, what Uniswap is, right? And yeah, like for me, it's just interesting how from the simple idea of a liquidity pool, you can make a small liquidity pool where I can put some dollars so that anyone can come in with a few Bitcoin, for example, and borrow against those assets with my dollars. When they get back those dollars plus the interest, then they will be able to take out their asset, and I will be able to take out my asset plus the interest, right? All of these different things were not possible until now to be done by anyone. Like for sure, you couldn't do that with $100, right?
Right. Yeah, it's pretty incredible, but I feel like it can be a little bit daunting for people with all the new nomenclature and terminology. I mean, you have liquidity pools and yield farming and stuff like that. So let's take it one by one, right? So you talked a little bit about liquidity pools. Is yield farming and staking the same thing? Like how are those things working, and what exactly are they?
Well, I mean, the reality is that different communities kind of take the same name for different things, right? Even inside of crypto, right? So it's really hard to say what is what in this case, right? For me, staking is kind of more related to the needs of a layer 1 protocol or even layer 2 protocol to kind of secure the network, right? That to me really is a staking. But I understand that in some cases you can actually be staking on a smart contract, for example, right? So normally you have like on DeFi, you have a liquidity pool of some sorts, right? So you just send your assets, whatever those assets are, into the liquidity pool, and then they are used for something, right? An example for this is what you're mentioning, yeah? So yield farming, right? So there's these kind of games that are being built right now on DeFi, kind of to incentivize people to do what the products wants them to do, right? So, for example, obviously an important piece of the ecosystem now is liquidity in these liquidity pools, right? So one thing that some have been able to do is essentially create programs like games. They call them food games in some cases, essentially, like because most of these projects kind of followed like different names like sushi and yams and burger and so on. Yeah. So essentially, yield farming is essentially when you get the liquidity pool representation, which is called an LP token, right? So essentially, you send into this liquidity pool on Uniswap, for example, a bunch of Ether and Divi. And if you can do that, then you get back an LP token. The token represents your position on this liquidity pool. And then if you have this token, you can, for example, put it in a smart contract that is just incentivizing that the longer you have the liquidity there, you're going to be earning rewards. That's what people call yield farming, right? So, but yeah, like you said, lots of names. It's a bit messy right now.
But that's how it always has been with crypto. There's all these interchangeable names, and it's kind of hard. I feel like as a newcomer to any part of the space, it takes a little while to like get gelled in to exactly what you're getting involved with. So I had a question from someone in our internal team that I wanted to ask, and they kind of wondered, how, and you kind of explained it just now with the liquidity pools, but how can your assets be used in multiple ways at the same time? Because, and just to give you some context, with Divi, when you stake Divi, you can only stake the coins as they're staked. Or when you run a masternode, you allocate those coins. If you want to go and spend those coins or put them in a lending protocol or something like that, you have to deallocate the coins. How in DeFi are we able to do so much stuff with the same assets?
Mm-hmm. So I like to think about. Let me kind of take a step back, right? The way I see kind of all of crypto is essentially a bunch of islands, right? So you've got the Divi island, you've got the Ethereum island, the Polkadot island, the Radix island. Each one of them, they have their own communities, their own ecosystems, their own economies, even, right? Some of them even have kind of bonds, right? And people are just like trading those things, and these bonds are giving them yield, right? And it's just interesting that nobody has actually built all the necessary bridges so that you can, get one of these communities and economies, essentially move it over and like be able to participate in other economies, right? So what StakeHound is here to do is essentially build these type of bridges, right? What we do is when someone has a bunch of Divi, they can exchange them for STDV on StakeHound, and then that STDV is what's called a wrapper, right? So it's essentially an ERC20 token, so a token on Ethereum, right? That allows you to be transferring it freely, meaning we get those Divi, then we custody them, we put them in custody, then we stake them, and now we have, all those Divi right now are staking, right? But now in your wallet, you have a bunch, the same exact number of STDV. And what's going to happen is that once a day, we're going to be calculating how many rewards we got from the staking of those Divi, and then we're going to be distributing the rewards to whoever is holding the STDV automatically, right? This means, for example, that you can do something like get those STDV and put them, for example, on a lending platform, right? So you get 100 STDV, you want to borrow against them, right? So you deposit them on one of these liquidity pools, right? But in this case, because you want to get dollars on the other side, right? What this means is that you will have an asset, a collateral, that is increasing over time, right? So it's giving you an APY over there, right? And at the same time, you're going to have liquidity to do other things with the dollars that you just borrowed. When you get back those dollars plus the interest that you have to be paying for that loan, then you would be getting all the STDV, right, which have been increasing over time, right? So essentially, one STDV represents the service of staking one specific Divi, but over time, the token increases, right? And that essentially allows you to know that you always have, the capability to come to us and exchange one STDV for one Divi, right? Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. And for anyone watching that feels a little confused, we are going to play a little explainer video after the interview with Albert, which I think will clear up any confusion, hopefully, around how this all works. Because there's a lot to it, but once you wrap your head around it, it's actually pretty straightforward. So let's talk about StakeHound a little bit. I'm really excited for our partnership. I know we've been talking about it for even a long time before we announced it and everything, of course. Let's talk about StakeHound a little bit. Like, tell me what StakeHound is, what you guys do, why you started it, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, I've been in the crypto space since 2013. I've been participating in different layer 1 protocols. I was one of the co-founders of the NEM Foundation. Then I was the chief product officer at Radix DLT. I've been participating in some DeFi projects as well, like Badger DAO, for example. And like I've been, looking a little bit into both worlds, right? What it takes to build a layer 1 protocol and what it takes to build like a DeFi application, right? I've been looking into decentralized exchanges, into stable coins. I've been looking into all these different things, and eventually we kind of realized that there's this gap, right? There's these users need to choose. Do you want to be staking your assets or do you want to be using them on DeFi? And normally those two things are exclusive, right? So if you're right now holding Divi and you have a node, okay, you're earning rewards there, but you actually can't do anything else on the Ethereum side of things, for example. I'm mentioning Ethereum because that's where the DeFi is right now, right? But there's, Binance Smart Chain, for example, where there's a lot of DeFi happening as well, right? This obviously will be increasing over time. You're going to have DeFi on pretty much any layer 1 protocol, and each one of them will have their own superpowers, their own things that you can do specially there, right? So we just thought, what if there was a way so that users don't need to be choosing, okay, I want to lock my assets in staking or I want to lock them in DeFi, but rather, what if you could get, the staking rewards while participating in DeFi? We looked into this project called WTC, which is essentially an institutional grade wrapper for Bitcoin, right? And it was essentially over this summer, it essentially became the main way that Bitcoin is transferred on Ethereum, right? And now most of the people, I mean, personally, like I use more WBTC than BTC itself, right? Because it's lighter. I can use it on different smart contracts. I can borrow against it. I can provide liquidity and so on and so forth, right? So why don't we have all these different bridges for other layer one protocols, right? So essentially, StakeHound kind of focuses on three main kind of pillars. First one is security. We hold all assets in two main custody providers, right? One of them is called Fireblocks, is a custody provider that holds $400 billion of assets under custody. And the other one is Copper, which is a regulated custodian in United Kingdom. And then what we do then is we are compliant. That's the second pillar, right? So the way we see it is, regulations are coming. You were just mentioning the new guidelines, for example, or like the proposed guidelines, right, for KYC and AML. Obviously, regardless of if it passes or it doesn't pass, what's going to happen is that they're going to get more serious, right? And this is actually something good. Like we all want institutions to come in because then the space will become 10 times bigger, right? So it is for sure a good thing for all of us, or we all have been wanting this. And institutions just can't come if there is no regulation, right? So building products that really are not compliant will essentially alienate all these institutions. And, it just doesn't make sense. Like we want to build a product that is institutional ready and that is secure, compliant. And then the third point is flexible. So we want it to be able to, integrate with any layer one or layer two protocol that you can stake, such as Divi. And then we want to deploy all these bridges to the different DeFi protocols that are coming up, right? So that you eventually will be able to, get some STDV and transact it on Binance Smart Chain, for example, right?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that we hear a lot from all of our communications that have gone out around the StakeHound partnership. A lot of people say, "Oh, you need to do Binance Smart Chain, or you need to do whatever the next hot thing is, because there's going to be Polkadot and there's going to be Casper Labs is coming out soon." And I hear good things about Lisk even. They're finally going to be launching some big stuff. Of course, there's always going to be that next thing. But I think what you're saying is StakeHound is always going to be there to ensure that the projects that they work with have that opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. I mean, it is not easy to kind of deploy to other to other DeFi protocols, right? So there's the liquidity, for example, right? So if you can't, let me give an example. For you to be able to go to Binance Smart Chain, for example, and borrow against STDV on the BSC, there has to be an automated market maker that provides a price feed to the lending protocol. You see, without liquidity on the AMM, you can't have lending, because it needs to be able to know what the price is in order to allow you to borrow against that asset, and it needs to be able to liquidate if it's necessary, right? So all of those things kind of have to be put together very carefully. And what we want to do is we want to be working closely with the DB community and essentially understand, okay, what would you like to do, right? So do you think that it's better to be on Ethereum, where there's a lot of money right now going on, or would you like to be lower fees, for example, in BSC, right? But it's something that these bridges, we're building them essentially for you, right? We want to make sure that people can go and can be transacting on both places, and it just doesn't work if we do it on our own. We have to be working on this together, and that's why we kind of take a much more kind of closer approach than like just listing and forgetting, basically.
Yeah. And you guys have worked with some big projects on this stuff, because you guys did NEM, and I think you have one with Horizon that's about to launch. I mean, you guys are going after some heavy hitters early on. How have those gone so far for you?
Yeah, so the way we see StakeHound, as I'm saying, is like we want to build an institutional grade liquid staking solution, right? Right now, we are the only ones that are taking like the compliance piece and the security piece seriously. We do KYC and AML on anything that comes in and comes out. Most of the people will just be transacting these assets, on the secondary market, like Uniswap and so on, right? But at the same time, it is in our minds the right way to do this, right? And in order to do this, what you're going to have is you have a one-stop shop where you're going to find any stakeable token that you can essentially buy anywhere, right? So we've already launched 6 tokens. We're partnered with about 12 foundations, like Layer 1 foundations, such as Divi, right? And we're going to be launching about 17 tokens in the next few months, right? Total 17 tokens kind of before summer, right? Essentially, we want to make sure that you've got all the optionality that there is, right? We want to be able to, go into Uniswap and buy some STDV, and then if you really like STDV and you really like DOT, for example, you can be providing liquidity, for example, for STDV and ST.DOT. You can be earning rewards from both. You can be earning trading fees from both at the same time, right? So essentially, it's just like, how do we provide more optionality? And yeah, what we've been seeing is, liquid staking is something that's still very new. Like people, we still have to do a lot of, I think, education on this front. But I'm sure we're going to get there. It's just a matter of time for people to really see what all the capabilities are, right? Like, to be honest, in our kind of research, about 70% of the communities are not kind of Ethereum centric, haven't really been exposed to DeFi yet. Right, like
right.
Nick, you were saying that this show is about DeFi, right, mainly, and that's the thing. Like there's a big gap of understanding of the different communities, and we first need to be kind of helping these communities understand, what an automated market maker is, what impermanent loss is, all these different concepts that are now, so common in DeFi, but still so foreign to some of the crypto communities.
Yeah, I think, as you said, education is paramount to the success of our DeFi initiative and all of the DeFi initiatives that exist out there, and even just DeFi in general. Because as we said at the beginning of this interview, it's pretty complex, at least from a high level when you first get into it. And that's why, we're on the Ethereum testnet, right, on Ropsten, and you can go and play with it right now. You can actually go get some Ropsten ETH and get some Stivy, some STDivy on SushiSwap, and I recommend that. I went through the guide that you guys put out yesterday, and I know a lot of our community members have gone through it as well. And for everyone watching, go through the guide. You will realize it's actually not as complicated as it seems once you realize, oh, it's something that you've probably done before. If you ever participated in pretty much anything in ETH, whether it be an ICO or an NFT or anything like that, you'll realize it's pretty much very, very similar to things that you've done before. In fact, we want people to engage with this so badly that is actually going to be our next competition for the month. We want people to go through Albert and his team's tutorial, take screenshots of your successful setup of your Stivy, whether that be on the testnet or on the mainnet when it inevitably launches, and post it on Twitter and tag #Divi contest, and we'll select some winners to win those 10,000 Divi. We really, really take education seriously, Albert. I'm sure we've discussed this in our conversations behind the scenes, and I hope that a contest like this will be helpful, and maybe some of your upcoming partnerships will follow our lead. But while we're on education and while we're talking about liquidity pools and liquid staking and things like that, I do want to show this video that we had created. It's pretty early stage video. There are some changes that need to be made. But again, this is pretty much a Divi only video anyway. So I hope you guys will understand that this is a first draft, and the version that comes out during the rollout of STDivy and the StakeHound partnership will change slightly. So Frisco, can you roll that video for us?
Have you ever wanted to dip into Divi? Well, with Divi, now you can. 1,000 worth of Divi gets 1,000 worth of Stivy out. We use copper custody to ensure the safety and security of your Divi. Get your Divi back anytime. There are multiple different pools to dip your toe in. The Stivy staking pool, the Stet staking pool, and the liquidity pool. There's a 1,000 minimum allocation in order to stake. Let's jump into the Stivy staking pool first. Staking rewards are equivalent to your position in the staking pool and are percentage based. Staking rewards are paid once per day, and rewards are manually reviewed by our partners at StakeHound to ensure fairness. In the liquidity pool, you'll need an equal amount of Stivy and Stet to participate. For example, If a user wants to allocate 1,000 worth of Stivi, they also need to allocate 1,000 worth of Steth. As a result, a liquidity pool token is created for a total value of 2,000. Users earn fees on transaction volume on the Stivi and Steth pair, 0.3% on every transaction. Users continue to earn staking rewards on their Stivi and Steth. The liquidity pool token is also tradable on the secondary market, and the more money added to the pool and the more transaction volume that exists, the more valuable the pool token becomes. Benefits include double or triple dipping your earnings, creating a scarcity event for Divi, arbitrage opportunities between Stivi and Divi, the price of Stivi equals the Divi price. Attract more eyes, traders, stakers and holders to the project. Dip into Stivi now.
What'd you think of that, man?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, you like that? Okay, so yeah, that's just the little explainer. You guys will see that going pretty much everywhere. We're gonna hit that one pretty hard. Like I said, some slight changes, and I think it'll be pretty much ready to go. As I said, educate yourself on Stivi. Reach out to StakeHound and Albert on Twitter. Where can we find you, by the way, before we forget?
Yeah. So, I mean, first, like, I really, really want to kind of invite people to really try it. I think that, like trying how liquidity pools work, on AMM, just trying, like you can do it on Robsten. There's no cost at all, right? Anyone can get some Robsten it for free and like just test it, right? But yeah, if you want to reach out, like we've got a Telegram group, we've got a Discord group as well. There's a channel in it for STDV, and yeah, we're always happy to essentially answer any question that there is. There's kind of like there's kind of different ways to use this product, and some of them will want to be doing the arbitragers that essentially requires this KYC and AML. Some of them, like some of you guys, will just want to be trading it directly on the market, right? So for that, you just need some ETH and MetaMask, basically, right? You just have some ETH, MetaMask. You go to Uniswap or SushiSwap and just buy some STDV over there, right? Just by buying that token, you're essentially gonna get the rewards coming in just directly to your wallet, right? So it's kind of like following on what you said at the beginning of the video. The kind of the simplest way to be staking, right? You no longer need to be having minimum amounts. You no longer need to be kind of running the nodes. It's essentially just buy a token, hold the token, and essentially get the rewards coming in. And this is what allows you to do all these different compounding things that I was saying throughout the conversation, right? So yeah, feel free to reach out. We're always happy to answer any questions, and we're really looking forward to launching STDV and working with you guys. It's been a pleasure. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Albert. Really appreciate you staying up late. I know you just had your birthday party, and so go enjoy the rest of your birthday and get some rest. I can't thank you enough for coming and joining us tonight.
Thank you very much, Nick. Okay, it's been a pleasure. Have a good one.
See ya. All right, so Albert Castellana, guys, CEO of StakeHound. This partnership has been pretty cool. We ended up on Cointelegraph this morning with the press release of the partnership announcement. So just stay tuned for all the Stivi, Steth, and StakeHound news. As I said, there is this competition that we will provide more information on, all of the terms and conditions and everything like that on our blog, on Twitter, and all of the social medias that we're on this coming week. So keep an eye out for that because you'll want to get involved. I just want to one more time reiterate, everything in crypto comes with some level of risk. DeFi can be difficult. Go and play with it. Go and learn how to use it on the testnet first, where there is no risk, because we want everybody to have fun with this, and we want everybody to hopefully make money as a result of playing with DeFi. And we would hate to see anybody make mistakes that they can't take back. So please, at your own risk, get into this stuff. There's tons of tools out there. As Albert said, they're happy to answer questions. You can ask in our Telegram group as well. We want to make sure that we all go into this Divi DeFi pool together and safely, with lifeguards looking out over us. So that's everything on Divi DeFi. I think that leads us into the final section of our Divi Live at 5, which is the AMA. All right, so we do have some questions here. Yusuf asks, is it possible to get ST Divi less than $1,000? The minimum stake requirement is 1,000. So you have to get, I think that's right. Albert, let me know in the private chat if I'm wrong there. So just keep that in mind. But there's no minimum stake amount outside of that. So you can get in there, and it's not like where Divi, where you have to have 10,000 Divi. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. It's a good one from Masulo. Is it just me, or does screw you? Okay, we do have another question from Mark Brown down here. He says, my question, do I need ETH to play in DeFi? I can't click that one. You do need ETH to play with this DeFi stuff. You can get Stivi, however, without ETH. You can allocate your current Divi holdings for Stivi or STDivi. And all that requires is that you go through a custodial process, which we partnered with Copper Custody for this. There is a KYC AML requirement, so just keep that in mind. But yes, it's possible to get into it without ETH. Now, if you want to generate liquidity pool earnings, you will need some ST ETH, or as we call it in the video, STETH or STETH. So you'll need to, at some point, get ETH for that if you want to participate in liquidity pools. Any info from Comics NFT on Divi? So you're talking about Lightning Works. Yes, I saw some behind the scenes videos from Lightning Works, and it's coming along really well. They have this really beautiful office down in Costa Rica, and there's like 6 people working on it all the time. I actually got a chance to check out the Creator app, which is like the app that allows you to create the comic books, which are of course turned into NFTs. It looks like Photoshop, like it's super sleek, and it looks really easy to use. So yeah, things are moving along right there. And I think there's a Siege Worlds comic coming out soon, and it's illustrated by these Marvel illustrators. It's like a real comic book. It looks amazing. So yeah, keep an eye out for that stuff. Any updates on the Tier 1 exchange listing? Yes, it's in process. I literally cannot say anything else outside of that. But it's moving along. That's all I can say. Is it possible you see Divi exchange in the future? You know, we looked at doing an exchange, and I won't rule it out. And of course, the mobile wallet will have an exchange functionality, but doing a full-fledged exchange, it's a whole thing. You know, I mean, if we had a bigger team, more resources, and things like that, maybe it'd be something that we would explore more deeply. But at the moment, it's just so much additional work that lives outside of our core focus that it just doesn't make sense. But again, in the mobile wallet, you'll still have the crypto to crypto and fiat to crypto swap ability, which is sort of like an exchange. Will there be lending by locking your Divi as collateral also? So yeah, once you have Stivi on ETH, on the Ethereum blockchain, or later on BSC or any of the wrapped Divi versions, you can participate in all those lending protocols, whether it be Celsius or Nexo or whatever the other ones are that allow for the ERC20 tokens. So yeah, we're looking at all of that stuff, and some of them are like by default. Others will be partnerships that we have to pursue. But yeah, that will be an option. Will Divi ever have a fixed quantity instead of an infinite amount of Divi? Probably not, but of course that could change down the line. As it stands right now, our inflation rate is actually lower than Bitcoin for the first 10 years. There's a great chart that our community members can share with you if you ask them in Telegram. A lot of people think that because there's a lot of coins, that means that there's like ridiculous inflation going on. But it's more mathematical than that. It's not just about the number of coins. And Crypto.com just burned 80 billion of their own coins. So, you know, take from that what you will. But yeah, the answer is probably not. We do decrease the inflation rate every year, however. When will US back partnership be announced? When the papers are signed. we cannot talk about anything without papers signed. It just can't happen. It's just not good business practice. And a lot of these deals are incredibly sensitive, and any going outside of the guidelines of those agreements would be hugely detrimental to the ultimate goals that we have. But I can say that things look good, and we're actually going to be sticking around here after the show and after the clubhouse to record a bunch of videos that will come out throughout the month, based around some of the things that you guys are asking in the comments right now that we just couldn't fit into this episode. What else we got? I am pumped for the after party. I have actually only used Clubhouse like once, just to see how it worked. So I'm pretty excited to see how this works. Hopefully it works well. And yeah, if you have Clubhouse, definitely jump in. If you don't have Clubhouse, you can usually get an invite from a friend. I bet one of your friends is, maybe even somebody in the channel here. It will be willing to share a Clubhouse invite with you. All right. So anybody else who has questions, you can just ask them in the Telegram. I just want to address one thing here. Facepalm boy at the bottom. Divi. So if you've ever run a business, you know that things take time. And I just want to address you real quick because you obviously wanted the attention. Yeah, there are processes that must be followed when it comes to running a real business, and we do our best to accomplish our goals throughout the month. And these things don't always happen. Lawyers have to review paperwork, and a lot of times they come back with things that need to be changed and red lines, and then the contract has to be updated and sent back and forth and back and forth. So yeah, I mean, like I said, we do our best to get things done, and we do get them done in due time, but they don't always happen on the timelines that we want them to, and that's just the way of the world, sir. So moving forward, we have the after party, as we said. Can we drop the link in there? We're going to drop the link in the comments real quick so you guys can jump into that. It's pretty much going to start right as soon as it's in. Are we doing it at 6:30 or 6? 6:30. So 6:30 p.m. PST. We'll get the clubhouse rocking and rolling. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see you guys there. We'll probably just talk a little bit about Divi and try to keep it a little bit more broad focused. We can talk about crypto, the FATF stuff, NFTs, DeFi, whatever you guys want to talk about. Yeah, I'm excited. So I'll see you guys over there. As always, you can find us on Twitter, Telegram, Facebook, Instagram, all the other things at Divi Project. And if you have any questions, please levy them there. I am always super pleased to see everyone joining us here on these Live at Fives. I will see you guys next time.